finally got the
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. Like,
That was
oh
like a
shit, yeah.
honeypot thumbnail that was going around
Yeah,
on that
yeah.
video. Where are
Yeah, it's like,
they?
oh
Like he
shit.
walks over the
That's
frame. Where are they?
that's pretty
Oh
hot.
my god.
Where are they? Um, yeah, this is pretty good stuff. No, the Alhamdulillah is so good. He throws her off.
Alhamdulillah. That's those.
QAnon. This mostly is so cool. If we could just tweak that a little bit.
This one sounds like it would be long. This one's at 27 minutes. I don't want to watch a short one first. Is this that?
Steve Jobs and Apple have quite a cult, whether lining up for days outside Apple stores to get the new iPhone first, or defending every questionable move from Apple, whether that's the removal of the headphone jack or the power brick. Apple fanboys support anything and everything that comes out of Apple, and this was really quite a wonder at the time. But today, the cult of Elon Musk is far larger than any cult Steve Jobs was able to accumulate.
Dude, I fucking can't
So,
wait
how
for
was
case
Elon Musk
statements,
able
man.
to grow such a positive
It's gonna be
and
Christmas all
supportive
over.
cult?
Case statements? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We should upgrade to Python 3 like 10
Before we
actually.
get
That would be
started
pretty
here,
cool.
I wanted to make it clear
Dude, he
that
never
I'm
merged
not
my
trying to
fucking pull
criticize
request
anyone
when I
for
wrote
I
the
knowing
know. I
fucking
made a
or
pull
first
loving
request
weekend.
for
Elon Musk.
3.8.4.
Personally,
I'm working
I
on a
look
new
up
one
to
for
him
3.9.4.
as
It's actually
well,
been easier to get
and
3.9
he is a great
4
role
running
model.
for me anyway.
Aside from
Like I
this,
only had to change a
I
few
think most of
packages,
us
and I
here would
really want to
agree
get on
that
that because then we'll
Elon
have
Musk is one of the
so
most
much nice
important
stuff.
people in the world,
Instead of
Little does
if
he
not
agents,
the
know.
you
most
can use like
important.
type sticks and
With that
everything.
being said, what I would like to
Little
discuss
did he
here
know
is
that's
what leads tens of
futile
millions of
because the
people to
NFL draft
idolize him
is
to an
this
extent where
weekend,
they
and I'm
block
not
out
gonna
all
fucking merge
criticism of the
that
guy.
shit.
And it's not just me who's suggesting this, but Elon Musk himself. A few years ago, when
I'm gonna
Elon
fucking
Musk
do
was
that
asked what is the
crap.
biggest challenge of his life, here's what he said.
One of the biggest challenges, I think, is making sure you have a corrective feedback loop and then maintaining that corrective feedback loop over time, even when
You want to join the stream and watch the Elon video with me?
Huh. Oh, wait, are you watching on your Twitch?
Yeah. I'm on all three actually, YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. Catch me live at Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook.
Alright, I'm gonna
Zero
sign up
viewers
now.
on all three. But maybe one viewer. I don't think I've ever actually had a viewer on YouTube or Facebook. They're like algorithms for fishing must be just terrible or something. Or maybe, some of them have like a low pass filter. So unless you stream a certain number of hours a week, they won't even recommend you to people, right? Because they don't think you're
Oh,
serious
yeah,
about it.
yeah.
You need to, that's like they say on Twitch, as long as you're just online more hours, you'll get more viewers. Because like the
I
algorithm will
heard
just
you.
start liking you.
Yeah, I I guess it doesn't matter if you're a huge streamer, right? Because then you've made the thing.
Yeah. Yeah, once you have a following, you're good. But to get off the ground, I think there's like a threshold number of hours you have to be online a week, and like average viewers that you need to have a week, and then I think once you start getting more viewers, you start just having more.
Yeah,
It's like just
I
hard to
feel
get
like
started.
I feel like it's really hard to break in that space, though. Like you either have to be
Yeah,
really good at video games, like, cause like, or you have to have be kind of like crazy at like, well, you have to cover so much. They cover so much shit. Their films. Well, I don't know if they're as good as YouTube. YouTubers are super fucking talented too. I mean, those
yeah.
fucking
YouTube is the hardest probably.
yeah. Like they have to be like, you have to be really good at what you do, and people are like, oh shit, it's blah blah blah. YouTube stars are like cooler, much cooler than movie stars to me. They're usually like super talented in their specific discipline, right? And
Yeah.
then they also like have like a good personality and they like create really good content.
Fox.
What are you talking about? Oh. And Rand. Rand. Are you gonna watch a video? All right.
In case they're
It's perfect because I'm gonna sign off as I need to focus, but I'll have this shit on the background. Be paying
Nice.
attention. Are you gonna? We'll play
Steve
whenever.
Jobs
I'll have
and
you shoot
Apple.
up. Paying attention. Are you gonna? Oh man, I just hear my voice on the like fuck that shit. All right, see you, man.
Yeah.
Apple have quite a cult. Whether lining up for days outside Apple stores to get the new iPhone first, or defending every questionable move from Apple. Whether that's the removal of the headphone jack or the power brick, Apple fanboys support anything and everything that comes out of Apple. And this was really quite a wonder at the time. But today, the cult of Elon Musk is far larger than any cult Steve Jobs was able to accumulate. So how was Elon Musk able to grow such a positive and supportive cult? Before we get started here, I wanted to make it clear that I'm not trying to criticize anyone for admiring or looking up to Elon Musk. Personally, I look up to him as well, and think he's a great role model. Aside from this, I think most of us here would agree that Elon Musk is one of the most important people in the world, if not the most important. With that being said, what I would like to discuss here is what leads tens of millions of people to idolize him to an extent where they block out all criticism of the guy. And it's not just me who's suggesting this, but Elon Musk himself. A few years ago, when Elon Musk was asked what is the biggest challenge of his life, here's what he said.
One of the biggest challenges, I think, is making sure you have a corrective feedback loop, and then maintaining that corrective feedback loop over time, even when people want to tell you exactly what you want to hear. That's very difficult. Yes.
So clearly, even Elon Musk himself understands and acknowledges that his fan base is often extremely critical of him, so much so that staying neutral is one of his biggest challenges. And let's keep in mind that this is coming from a guy who's achieved some of the hardest technical feats in history. But what makes people feel so strongly about Elon Musk? Well, starting off, many fans believe that Elon Musk is the savior of humanity. There's definitely at least some substance to this belief, as Elon Musk is doing a lot of great things, from fighting climate change on multiple fronts to making our species multiplanetary. And to many people, these are the most noble and important battles to fight, as they concern all of us. No one is going to argue that fighting poverty or various deadly diseases is not significant. But at the same time, these issues are more concerned with improving the overall quality of human life. As sad as it is, kids in Africa and third world countries dying from poverty and disease doesn't actually affect the chances of human survival as a whole. On the contrary, many of Elon's fans believe that ignoring climate change and staying confined to one planet is a long-term death wish for our entire species. Though I do believe that Elon Musk is significantly helping us tackle these issues, I'm not exactly convinced that humans as a whole would go extinct without contributions of Elon Musk. This is because I believe that the overall human community will not let such disasters actually take place long-term. Humans have overcome many existential threats in the past, such as the Ice Age, which lasted a millennium. So, though I don't believe Elon Musk is the sole savior of humanity, I think there's no problem with strongly supporting a guy who has made great strides in many important fields. Moving on, Elon Musk comes off as one of the most real billionaires out there. We rarely see any emotions coming out of the wealthiest people around. With Jeff Bezos, the only emotion we see out of him is his quote-unquote maniacal laughing. With Mark Zuckerberg, you know the story. And with Bernard Arnold, well, most people don't even know he's at the top of the billionaires list. With Elon Musk, on the other hand, one of the most famous clips of him is him tearing up. And being able to see the emotional side of someone no doubt makes it easier for people to sympathize with them, which also leads to greater admiration when they succeed against all odds. Aside from this, one of the key proponents to his thriving fanbase is of course his constant engagement with them through social media. Some people hate Elon's tweeting while others love it, but I think everyone finds it at least entertaining to some degree. And given that Elon tweets several times every single day, he's able to connect with his fanbase on a regular basis, ensuring that his fanbase remains strong. Anyways, next up, one of the largest reasons that many people have a crush on Elon Musk is because of the nature of his projects. Now, I'm not talking about the difficulty or importance of Elon's work, but rather the nature of Elon's work. Elon's projects are often compared to a kid in a candy shop, just pouncing at every idea that seems intriguing. Every idea he's working on is something many of us have dreamt about as a kid, whether launching rockets into space, or visiting Mars, or inventing a car that can drive itself. And what about Neuralink? I bet many of us have dreamt about becoming as smart as supercomputers one day. Elon's ideas aren't the most unique or original, as such visions are common amongst many people, especially when they were younger. However, the average person matures and usually ends up working a 9-to-5 job, and never looks back at the vision they had when they were younger. With Elon Musk, however, not only did he embark on these endeavors, but he has been successful with many of them. As a result, through Elon Musk, I believe many of his fans are able to fulfill their own dreams from when they were younger. Though it's actually not them achieving their dreams, they're excited to support someone who is actually working on making their dreams a reality. With that being said, I think a lot of enthusiasm for Elon Musk comes from how his projects capture the kid within all of us. In the realm of succeeding in ludicrous innovations, something that's unique to Elon Musk is that his rate of innovation never slows down. Rather, it actually speeds up. This is in stark contrast to many of the other top innovators in the world. For instance, with Apple, we saw rapid innovation from the original iPhone to the iPhone 6. Every year, there would be something significant that people would want to upgrade for. After the iPhone 6, however, we saw a bit of a stall until the iPhone X, which came out 3 years later. And since then, we haven't seen very much innovation at all out of Apple. This can of course be partially attributed to the fact that smartphones have evolved to basically their final form. However, with the chosen fields of Elon Musk, there is really no final form due to the massive scope of his fields. With space, for instance, we have to first reach Mars, but though reaching Mars is extremely difficult, actually reaching Mars is just the beginning. After that, there's the extremely difficult goal of colonizing and terraforming Mars. If we succeed with this on one planet, why not extend it to other more difficult planets as well, like Venus or the gas giants? If we succeed within our solar system, then the next obvious step would be stepping outside the solar system and then our galaxy and so on and so forth. When it comes to exploration and colonization of our universe, the possibilities are truly endless, which allows Elon Musk to never slow down the rate of innovation as is common with most other innovative companies. And this rapid speed of innovation keeps the fans of Elon Musk constantly on the edge of their seats, wondering when the next milestone will be. And finally, the last major reason Elon Musk has been able to build up such an extensive community is that he doesn't do anything for the money. Rather, the vast fortune he has been able to accumulate is simply a byproduct. This is very evident in the fact that he started SpaceX and even got involved with Tesla in the first place. Elon Musk received $180 million from the sale of PayPal to eBay, and he could have called it a day right then. Most people would be more than satisfied with that amount and wouldn't even care to grow it. But even if Elon wanted to grow it further, there were many easier options available to him. He could have simply thrown the $180 million into the S&P 500.
This video is like, okay. You're like, okay, this one's at 25 minutes, we'll put it on autoplay. Yeah, good.
Welcome to this episode of The Common Sense Skeptic. Earlier this month, Elon Musk was declared to be the richest man in the world, and his fanboys celebrated this questionable achievement by shoveling even more of their hard-earned cash into Tesla's inflated stock price. So what better way for us to kick off the new year than to demonstrate how Musk accumulated his reported massive wealth, and how Musk is probably the least worthy individual to ever hold such an honor. But first, we're going to start off this episode with a bit of an origin story of our own, and the reason why the Common Sense Skeptic channel came to be. Our crew are all fans of technology who grew up on a steady diet of science fiction. We followed along ever since Buck Rogers and Battlestar Galactica, the original series, were putting out new episodes. Back when $5 bought popcorn and a $2.50 Tuesday admission ticket to Star Wars in the theaters. Star Wars, Star Trek, even Star Blazers. So would it surprise you to learn that we used to be fans of Elon Musk? It's true. Spotting him in Iron Man 2 or The Big Bang Theory was kinda cool back in the day, and the media made sure we knew who he was and all the technological marvels he had single-handedly brought into the world. PayPal, Tesla, SpaceX, all directly from the unparalleled brilliant mind of this single man who manifested his visions through sheer determination and grit. Who doesn't love a story like that, right? Problem was, it was all a fiction we were being force-fed. Fake news. We just didn't know it yet. Around the same time Musk was pretending to be an actor, other stories were circulating online about new technologies that were going to reshape the world. Wonder products being fawned over the media at the time included the water seer, and thorium-powered cars, and condominiums hanging from orbiting asteroids that would float across the sky. All of which falling into the category of too good to be true, and alarm bells started ringing about these types of claims. Actually, one of the very first products that defied our belief was alcohol. Remember that one? Powdered alcohol that you just added to water to make your favorite cocktails when you were out on a hike. The problem with that claim was, alcohol is a solvent, not a solute, which is impossible to dehydrate into a powder. Solar freaking roadways was next. Their CGI promotional videos declared their goal was to pave the roads of the world with solar tile panels that were impervious to damage, creating all the energy the world would ever need. Non-stop adulation and positive press washed over Scott and Julie Broussard while they collected millions of dollars from Indiegogo and federal grants to produce this earth-saving green tech. But upon closer inspection, none of their claims added up, especially the economics. So we did what nobody else had done so far and broke down the numbers. Turned out, the raw unassembled materials for solar roadways would add up to at least $205 million per mile of 4-lane highway, and that was years ago. Despite all their awards and DOT grants and press coverage and announced projects, 15 years after being founded, solar roadways has only ever amounted to little more than vaporware. At the time, Musk still flew under our radar, despite his constant appearances on shows and news feeds and tech articles, right up until the cave in Thailand flooded. Then he hit our wall. As actual heroes were trying to save a dozen young soccer players and their coach from drowning in the cave, Musk decided this would be a great time for self-promotion, declaring he would provide a submarine to conduct the rescue. Vernon Unsworth, one of the lead rescue divers of this operation, told the media and Musk, thanks but no thanks, that sub will be useless in this effort. The fact was, this pinch point in the tunnel was so tight that divers had to remove their air tanks and pull them alongside. This was so dangerous that an experienced Thai Navy SEAL named Saman Gunan died while loading the tunnel with air tanks before the underwater extraction. Unsworth was absolutely correct in dismissing Musk's sub, which would never have gotten through that gap. Musk took that dismissal personally, and that embarrassment led to Musk viciously attacking Unsworth on Twitter. The sheer stupidity Musk demonstrated during this attempted publicity stunt, while there were young lives at stake, was bad enough. But for him to do what he did to Vernon Unsworth on Twitter, and in follow-up news articles, tore the positive facade off of him permanently. Watching these events unfold, the question we kept asking ourselves was, how could somebody so smart do something so stupid and so vile as this? And the answer we came up with was, maybe he's not that smart. Turns out that was an accurate conclusion, and the more research we do on Musk, the more solidified this conclusion becomes. Now that we've been able to nail down Musk's modus operandi, it's time to share what we've learned, so that others can stop fawning over this megalomaniacal imbecile that continues to fail upwards. We've all seen them. These memes that portray Elon Musk as a multifaceted genius, solely responsible for these quote-unquote paradigm-shifting companies. We've also seen the stories attached to this mythos about how he was a poor and abused child who turned himself into a self-made billionaire. It's time to put these claims to the test. Is he a self-made billionaire? And is he, in fact, the genius behind each of the companies he's credited with being the founder of? So this is Debunking Elon Musk, our initial offering of 2021. Musk was born to May Haldeman and Errol Musk on June 28, 1971 in Pretoria, South Africa. This fittingly makes him a Cancer. His mother May was 21, 2 years younger than her husband Errol, whom she would
He's a
divorce only 9
Cancer.
years later. As it turns out, the South African businessman who relentlessly pursued his beautiful aspiring model for 7 years until she finally agreed to marry him, started physically abusing her pretty much as soon as they got married. After having 3 children together, May moved back to Canada to pursue her modeling career, and at 69 became the face of CoverGirl. Around the same time May became the face of CoverGirl, her 72-year-old ex-husband fathered a child with his own 30-year-old stepdaughter from his second ex-marriage. Which really isn't Elon's story, except Elon would bring similar misogynist attitudes into all of his future ex-marriages. Elon Musk is often portrayed as a poor kid who pulled himself up by his bootstraps. Reality is, both sides of the family came from money, as was bragged about in an interview where they said they had so much money when they were younger, they could hardly fit it all in the safe. May's father, Joshua Norman Haldeman, developed national and international stature as a political economist, provincial and national professional leader in chiropractic medicine, and sportsman adventurer. In 1950, Haldeman picked up and moved his family to South Africa to become an amateur archaeologist hunting for the lost city of the Kalahari. Errol Musk's parents were also well off, tracing his military father's South African roots back 200 years. His mother came from a well-to-do English family and had an elite education. For his part, Errol was himself a gifted engineer and earned massive wealth as an engineering consultant and real estate developer and emerald mine co-owner. According to Elon's father, the family enjoyed a lavish lifestyle, replete with yachts, ski vacations, and expensive computers. Musk himself enjoyed a privileged upbringing and education at private school, all of which Musk now denies. But not every teenage kid can walk into Tiffany's with loose emeralds in their pockets and walk out with $2,000. When his parents divorced and his mother moved back to Canada, Musk initially stayed with his dad in South Africa. Musk moved to Canada at the age of 17 to live with his mom to avoid serving in the South African military. Musk attended Queen's University on scholarships, so how he racked up the 6-figure student debt that he whines about is anybody's guess. Maybe it's because he didn't graduate before moving to the University of Pennsylvania, and he was so poor that he and another student named Adio Ressi bought a 10-bedroom frat house that they used as their own personal illegal nightclub. Ressi recently posted a photo of the house, and it still stands. Musk is also often portrayed as a genius, with an estimated IQ somewhere in the mid-150s. Problem is, that hasn't actually been put to the test since he was in grade school, and when he comes up with a concept such as the Hyperloop white paper, which is not only tremendously flawed at a basic physics level, it was also plagiarized from a 100-year-old patent and a 200-year-old concept, one has to wonder about his mental competency. Anyone thinking that a turbine is going to pull you through an airless environment, while that vehicle is being held off the ground using compressed air in a vacuum, is fundamentally, scientifically clueless, and needs to check out the episodes Thunderfoot has done on this topic immediately. Then, of course, after Musk has an idea people are flying over, he has to immediately lie to his followers to create additional hype, such as this fake news about getting approval for a New York to DC Hyperloop, or this one about building one from San Francisco to LA. Add to this nonsense the concept of underground freeways accessed by elevators using electric skates, or the absolute insanity of throwing computer interfaces into your brain to play video games, and even W.C. Fields would have to wonder, is he dazzling you with brilliance or baffling you with bullshit? Judging from the ridiculous claims Musk is making about the terraforming and colonization of Mars, we have to believe it's the latter. And for anyone arguing Musk has a PhD to back up the genius claim, here are those facts. Musk was accepted into Stanford in California for PhD studies, but he dropped out after only 2 days to pursue his first business enterprise with his brother, and that's where this story actually starts. Instead of going to Stanford, Musk and his brother Kimball decided to create an online directory akin to the Yellow Pages to take advantage of the early stages of the internet boom. To that end, in 1995, they formed a global information network, which would later become Zip2, whose goal it was to convince businesses to form an online presence and directory. The stories that Musk tells about these early years, living in the office and whatnot, seem to be mostly for dramatic effect, since their rich father gave them $28,000 towards getting this venture going at a time when the minimum wage in California was $4.25. Musk may be on record now as saying he hates his father, but he apparently didn't hate him enough to turn down daddy's money. Or his mother's, as it turns out. According to May's memoirs, she visited the boys every 6 weeks from eastern Canada, buying groceries and furniture, and giving them another $10,000 to keep the lights on. Man, it must suck being so hard done by. Enter Greg Coury, a Canadian family friend through the father that Musk claims to hate. Coury was a Canadian real estate developer with business ties and connections that the brothers did not have, so Coury came in as a co-founder and mentor for the boys. Coury's roles in the company were those of investor, bringing another $8,000 of much-needed cash, as well as VP of business development, and as it turns out, referee of literal fistfights between Elon and Kimball in the office. It was Coury's connections that brought the venture capitalists to the table, not these squabbling siblings. Once the VC money came pouring in through Greg, the highest office Musk held in the company was that of the Chief Technology Officer, or CTO. Due to Elon's inability to deal with people, he was not even considered for the CEO position that was filled by Richard Sorkin. Prior to joining Zip2 as the chairman and CEO, Sorkin was a senior product manager for Pocket Computers, director of emerging tech at Phoenix Technologies, and VP general manager of Creative Technology Limited, where he oversaw an 8-fold increase in revenue over 3 years to $800 million annually. Sorkin's previous resume and education and his circle of influence dwarfed anything Musk brought to the table. Unlike Musk, Sorkin did graduate from Stanford in 1988 with his MBA, after graduating from Yale with a Bachelor of Science in Economics. Elon was given the position of CTO. However, the code Musk wrote, as it turned out, was poorly written, difficult to update, and impossible to expand. So in 1996, Sorkin hired professional coders to completely scrap what Musk had done, eventually rewriting every line of code in the platform. So essentially, Musk contributed nothing to the end product that Coury would use to attract additional investment money.
Jeez.
Musk, upset that his work was being dismantled, demanded that these new professional coders work the same insane hours that he did, but they were only willing to commit to 9 to 5, while rewriting this electronic version of the Yellow Pages. In making these demands, Musk earned a reputation for being quite unreasonable to work for. In April of 1998, Sorkin made a deal with CitySearch to merge in a $300 million deal that would have seen Sorkin become the new CEO of the combined companies. Musk originally greenlit the deal, but then kiboshed it by leading a revolt against Sorkin, causing Zip2 to fall into such disarray that Derek Proudian, a venture capitalist board member at Zip2 and 3-time Stanford grad, had to step up and take control of the company as CEO. He immediately started looking for a buyer for this growing dumpster fire. In February 1999, despite constantly losing money, Compaq offered Proudian $305 million for the company, lock, stock, and barrel. This deal went through, and Zip2 was absorbed into Compaq's AltaVista platform. Those of us who lived through the 90s remember the dot-com tech boom, followed by the bubble and burst. This transaction definitely falls into that category. Here is another parallel from that same time frame. Most of you know who Kevin O'Leary is, the self-proclaimed Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank and Dragon's Den fame. O'Leary's biggest claim to fame is that in May of 1999, Mattel paid $3.8 billion for Kevin O'Leary's The Learning Company software company to form Mattel Interactive. Turned out, O'Leary's cooked books and outdated assets were pretty much worthless, and they were almost literally given away to the Gores Technology Group for $27 million less than a year later. In the time Mattel held on to TLC, they encountered losses in the hundreds of millions of dollars. Investors watched their share price plummet from $26.44 in March of '99 to $8.94 a year later. Mattel had to lay off 10% of their workforce to eke their way back to profitability.
Oh no.
But the producers of Shark Tank conveniently leave out all those details from the opening credits of the show to let you believe that Kevin O'Leary is some sort of next-level business billionaire guru. Sound familiar? Right around the same time O'Leary single-handedly killed off the educational software market, the Zip2 deal went through, and Compaq suffered for it. Their strategy of buying assets at ridiculous premiums rather than develop them in-house at wholesale caused the once prominent computer company to flounder. In January of 1999, Compaq stock hit an all-time high of $47.62 a share. This transaction completed in February. By April, the stock had dropped to half its value to $24.25, and from there, it was a steady slide to when they were taken over by HP in September of 2001, with a closing stock price on the transaction date of $12.35. Anyone who bought and held CPQ at its height lost 75% of their investment by the time it was converted into HP stock. If you lost money on CPQ, the Zip2 deal definitely played a role in that loss. At the end of the day, Zip2 never managed to create a single penny in profit for Compaq from acquisition to abortion. But none of that mattered to the Musk brothers or to Curry, who all made out like bandits. Elon netted $22 million, Kimball only got $15 million. Curry, who was the Zip2 business developer and co-founder, made enough money to invest in Elon's next venture, but he played no role in the company. Curry died in 2012 at the age of 51 of a heart attack in New York City. After Musk cashed in with Zip2, he immediately took $1 million of his windfall and bought a McLaren F1 supercar to show off to his circle of friends and his girlfriend at the time, which made international headline news. This purchase is the perfect analogy for Musk, to be sure. Just like the company he sold, he didn't know how to pilot it or keep it on the road, and the poor vehicle suffered dearly at his hands before he wrote the uninsured car off, showing off for a man by the name of Peter Thiel, a name we will hear again very shortly.
Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel was big into Trump too, right?
Following the windfall sale of Zip2 to Compaq, Musk turned his remaining money and focus to his next venture he called X.com. Of course, everyone knows the story of how Musk single-handedly set out to revolutionize the banking industry, except you don't see the name Harris Fricker anywhere, and he was kind of important to that company, not only as a banking expert, but also as a co-founder. So was Ed Ho, a former Zip2 executive, and so was Christopher Payne, Harris Fricker's friend and colleague in the banking industry, who has apparently never, ever been photographed. Ed Ho, on the other hand, has only ever had one picture taken of him. Seriously, those are the only pictures we could find. Judging from the differences between the English and the Spanish versions of Wikipedia, someone has been rewriting X.com's history. Compare these screenshots for X.com from both sites, and you'll find the English version has been redacted to remove mention of everybody but Musk at X.com, but the Spanish version still names the three other men, their co-foundership, and their departure trajectories. Of these three men, it was Fricker who played the most important role in this new startup. Fricker is a banker with a bachelor's from St. Francis Xavier and a Rhodes Scholars Master from Oxford University to back it up. He was the banking master X.com needed to make this happen, and he brought the people he needed with him. Musk met Fricker during his internship at Bank of Nova Scotia, and convinced Fricker to come on board in November of 1999 to help found the company. When X.com was formed, Musk rolled the rest of his Zip2 windfall into X.com, making sure with his larger investment that he would retain control of the company by assigning himself as chairman. Musk brought on Bill Harris as CEO, who brought his experience as CEO at Intuit Inc. with him, which didn't sit well with Fricker, who had moved from Canada to Silicon Valley to start this company and make his mark. Despite an initial rapport as friends, Musk and Fricker rarely saw eye to eye in business. Fricker simply wanted to create an online bank, but Musk kept insisting their company had to revolutionize the banking industry. Fricker accurately accused Musk of overhyping their product, and tensions got so bad that Fricker attempted a boardroom coup against Musk and Bill Harris to take the CEO positions 5 months after founding the company together. When that was unsuccessful, Fricker, Payne, and Ho all simply left, and they took all the best software engineers with them, leaving behind Musk and whatever staff remained in May of 2000 with a disheveled shell of a barely functional platform. Scott Anderson, a software engineer who started working at X.com on August 1, 1999, described the fallout as complete insanity, describing their software as a Hollywood movie set of a website that barely fooled the venture capitalists. Fricker was apparently so pissed off with Musk on his departure, he doesn't even bother mentioning X.com whatsoever, despite setting the company up using his experience, connections, and education in the banking industry. Fricker recently retired as the CEO for Stifel GMP Capital, lasting 12 years in the organization he joined shortly after parting ways with Musk. The other original founders also went on to have their own successes without having to deal any longer with Musk. None of them mentioned their association with X.com on their professional profiles whatsoever. After Fricker left and took his friends with him, Musk desperately needed money, and he was able to sweet-talk Mike Moritz of Sequoia Capital into investing in their platform, which was barely functional now. But Moritz didn't see through this sham, and he threw money at it anyway. Meanwhile, another company was making their mark in the online finance world, and this one didn't have all this inner turmoil. At least, not yet. A similar banking concept, created by Peter Thiel and Max Levchin at a startup called Confinity, was gaining notoriety with their payment platform called PayPal, which was developed through 1998 and released in July of 1999, almost a year before Musk and Harris had their falling out over at X.com. So right off the bat, 3 things to note here. Number 1, Musk did not found the company that wrote PayPal in December of 1998. Number 2, Musk did not write PayPal. And number 3, the company was not even called PayPal. So when Musk is introduced as the founder of PayPal, there's just so much wrong with that statement. If it wasn't pathetic, it might even be funny. Musk was watching the Confinity platform take off, so Musk started copying their promotional model. Luke knows that the primary campaign for Confinity that Musk copied was offering cash incentives for new clients and client referrals, which drove both companies into the red ink. Thiel and company eventually decided if you can't beat them, eat them, so Confinity bought or merged with X.com in the March of 2000 under Bill Harris, who would remain as CEO of the merged companies. By virtue of his shares value, Musk became chairman and Thiel became the chief financial officer. Combining the companies was a nightmare, each having their own corporate culture, and the two were like oil and water. Harris and Thiel particularly didn't see eye to eye on how to handle the combined company, which was sinking deeper into debt, in large part because the site was being constantly hacked by thieves. This discord led Thiel to quit the company. Musk arranged an emergency board meeting to seize the CEO position away from Harris, and that was a move that brought Thiel back as chairman in April of 2000. In his new position as CEO, Musk wanted to phase out all other names in favor of his beloved X.com. Problem was, focus groups hated X.com since it sounded like a porn site. This caused a rift in the former Confinity rank, which in turn angered Musk, who loved the name. Despite bleeding red ink, the company became popular as an online means to transfer funds. But with that popularity came increased fraud as hackers discovered they could easily access financial data on the site to siphon funds. Additionally, bank fees from the increasing transactions started adding up very quickly. It was obvious now that the company lacked a solid business structure as well as a way to offset the money it was losing, and they had no plan to combat the fraud it suffered. Chief Financial Officer Roland Pota, now a partner at Sequoia Capital, suspected Musk as the new CEO was not presenting his board with accurate assessments of the company's issues. And enough people started questioning Musk's decisions that they formed a coalition of former X.com and Confinity board members with the intent to dethrone Musk. 6 months after Musk deposed Bill Harris as CEO, Musk himself became the target, and this coalition voted Musk be removed from the CEO position while Elon was flying to Sydney, Australia, for his honeymoon with his first ex-wife Justine, who was the eventual mother of 6 of his children. Justine gave Marie Claire quite the interview about her time with Musk, the way she was treated, and how Musk left his family behind for a British starlet named Tallulah Riley, who he would later divorce, not once, but twice. The linchpin to this coup was Peter Thiel returning as CEO, which he agreed to do. Musk found out he had been fired as CEO when he landed in Australia, and immediately headed back on the first available flight to plead his case, but nobody was interested in hearing it. Musk was removed as CEO on September 24, 2000. He was formally terminated from the company on March 9, 2001. That full separation agreement can be found on corporate.findlaw.com, and it has some very interesting language woven into page 3, paragraph 5, regarding the deletion of reference to founders on the PayPal website, which would allow Musk to inaccurately, in the future, call him a founder of the company. After Musk was terminated from all roles in the company, Thiel rebranded the company to PayPal and removed all trace of the X.com branding. He took the company public in February of 2002 with an IPO valued at $800 million, before eBay bought the shop, lock, stock, and barrel, for $1.5 billion October of the same year. So as it turns out, not only did Musk not found PayPal, he never even worked for a company called PayPal. He had nothing to do with the renaming of the company, PayPal's IPO, or the subsequent sale to eBay that made Musk rich by accident. From this windfall that Musk received thanks to Peter Thiel's efforts, Musk took the $180 million he received and sunk portions into Tesla, SpaceX, and SolarCity. We're going to take a break right now so you can get up and have a stretch, grab a drink, and then join us when you're ready to click part 2 of this presentation.
Who puts an intermission in the YouTube video? Oh, it's because there's part 2.
Welcome back for part 2 of our presentation, that is debunking Elon Musk. There is a part 1 to this presentation. If you haven't seen that one yet, please watch it first and then come back and join us for
Can't
part 2.
believe it's the same guy.
Another company Musk is often credited with founding is Tesla, mainly by rookie reporters and fanboys who confuse investing in a company with founding that company. Let's start off this segment with the brass tacks statement. Tesla Motors Inc. was founded by Mark Tarpenning and Martin Eberhart on July 1st, 2003 in San Carlos, California. Tarpenning was a software engineer previously working
Oh my
for
God, this
Textron,
Lux is
Seagate,
700
Bechtel, and
shutdown
Packet
money.
Design as VP of Engineering. Martin Eberhart is an American engineer whose interest in sports cars brought him to Silicon Valley's first automobile company, assisting in the design of a prototype called the AC Propulsion T0. Together, the two men founded Nouveau Media in 1997, which built the very first e-reader in 1998 called the Rocket eBook. 2 years later, TV Guide bought that company from them for $187 million. They would team up again to found Tesla Motors Inc. after Eberhart had an epiphany from seeing a Prius parked next to a Porsche in the parking lot,
Nice.
and he wondered how to combine the electric dorkmobile with the sports car type styling. After some brainstorming, the vehicle they conceived, initially called the Porsche, is what we now know to be the Roadster. The two men founded the company July 1, 2003, with Eberhart as the first CEO of Tesla Motors and Tarpenning as the first CFO, with the two of them financing this startup with their recent windfall from Nouveau Media. Weeks later, a mutual friend named Ian Wright joined the duo. Ian had more experience with vehicles than the partners, so he became Tesla's first VP of vehicle development, procuring supplying partners Lotus for drivetrains and AC Propulsion for motors. You'll notice, so far, Musk is nowhere near this story. Not the founding, not the initial investment, and not the vision. Unfortunately for these two partners, when it came time to take the company public, they believed they needed more guidance, and they met with Musk to be the face of their $7.5 million Series A private funding round, and handle the negotiations and valuation. In early 2004, Musk bought in on the condition that he was named chairman of the company, despite having no experience in any aspect of the company at all. So the $6.5 million that Musk ponied up had two effects. It gave the company the cash they needed to continue development, but it also hobbled the original team with having Musk as the majority investor. The symbiosis previously enjoyed by the founding partners now had to contend with an interjecting narcissist directing their development efforts. It took no time for Ian Wright to see the writing on this one. He left in
He's worked a lot
2004,
of shutdown
shortly
money.
after
I
Musk
don't
came on
really
board,
care for the,
to start up his own
that-
EV
that
conversion
doesn't
company
concern
called
me.
Brightspeed.
I mean, I could
Adding to the
kill this
tension,
set.
articles written by the media
just not
regarding
worth it.
Tesla
I want
fawned over the
700
actual
shutdown
founders
for
of the
the
company,
Lux.
largely ignoring Musk and his
Oh,
money.
God.
This created a purple-headed monster in Musk,
Oh,
who
and
seems
she
always needs
flashed.
to be the focus of
That's
attention.
good.
In hindsight, it's doubtful either original
I'm
founder
gonna
and
die
knew how
anyway.
things turned out, because after 3 years of butting heads, Musk orchestrated yet another coup, again targeting the CEO position. Martin Eberhart, the man whose vision brought the Roadster to life, which was unveiled in 2006, was ousted from the CEO position of the very company he co-founded by Musk in November of 2007. Newly installed CEOs, originally Michael Marks and an outsider named Zeev Drori, were installed as Musk puppets, despite the fact that neither had any automotive domain experience. To remove Eberhard as CEO from the board that Musk appointed, Musk held Eberhard personally responsible for the cost overruns in the Roadster production, cost that Musk was actually responsible for by insisting on a number of expensive revisions to the vehicle, including that the body be built out of expensive carbon fiber composites instead of normal body panel material. Originally, after Musk removed Eberhard as CEO, under newly appointed CEO Michael Marks, Eberhard was to be moved to CTO, receiving the same salary as his CEO position. Although upset, Eberhard agreed to this to ensure the continuity of the company. But that remedy only lasted 5 weeks, because behind closed doors, Musk kept insisting to Marks that Eberhard had to be gone completely, another instance of Musk abusing the genius who brought the company to life. Now, instead of being CTO with an annual salary, Eberhard was handed a take-it-or-leave-it severance package of 6 months' pay, benefits, and 62,500 shares of stock. Eberhard refused and continued working as CTO. 4 months later, Musk replaced Marks with Drori, yet another Musk stooge. The same day that Drori took the job, Musk confronted Eberhard and told him he needed to leave. Musk then threatened to convert enough of his own stock options to common stock to give him the ability to single-handedly can Eberhard, which left the company's original visionary with no option but to leave. The next day, November 28, 2007, Eberhard was gone. Not long afterwards, Drori was also terminated as CEO. Musk then took it upon himself to occupy the seats of both chairman and CEO, which is something that no board of directors should ever allow. Eberhard sued Musk in 2009 for libel, slander, and breach of contract. His 147-page legal filing outlined the unceremonious ouster from his company and the treatment he suffered at the hands of Musk, who he also accused of trying to rewrite history, taking credit for the machine that Eberhard, Tarpenning, and Wright had built. Musk now had the unmitigated gall, as it turns out, to add himself to the founders of the company, when, as we noted before, Musk was nowhere near the company when the two original founders signed the paperwork. The company's board, loaded up now with Musk's stooges, rewrote the company history to include Musk as an original founder, and since then the world has been under the impression that this is true. But
Wait, they rewrote the history of 2 companies to say that Elon was the founder? Because it was PayPal, first of all, that he didn't actually found, but they rewrote the history of the company to say that he was a founder. And then Tesla, and he forced the CEO of Tesla, the original founder, he forced him out by converting his shares in like a takeover of the company. Like, holy crap, this guy is absolutely an alpha Chad.
the lie is still a lie, no matter how many people
Gets
believe
away
it.
with everything, man.
Musk also wrongly denied Eberhard's severance, and publicly humiliated Eberhard with the false allegations of
Dude,
incompetence.
he denied his severance. Holy shit. Dude, not only did he take the guy's company, he denied him severance. And wait, I gotta go back. What is? Oh my god. completely emasculated the guy.
Eberhard's severance, and publicly humiliated Eberhard with the false allegations of incompetence. Adding insult to injury, the man who breathed life into the Roadster, who was supposed to originally get the first one off the line, watched as Musk insisted he was entitled to that vehicle for himself. The man who contributed nothing to the designs except for expensive upgrades and cost overruns. There is even a certificate signed by Musk that appears on page 147 of Eberhard's lawsuit, declaring that he was to get the first one off the line, and Musk still took it for himself. And you know what he did with it? Eberhard was then promised the second vehicle off the line, but Musk took that one as well, and he sold it to a friend of his. The vehicle Eberhard finally got, July 19, 2008, had to be completely rebuilt after a Tesla employee ran it into the back of a truck during testing and caused so much damage that the vehicle would have been written off, but it hadn't yet been insured. When Eberhard finally did get his Roadster, it was a rebuilt, write-off vehicle that didn't even have the upgraded essential drivetrain he was promised. It was refurbished, base model, B-stock, while the car he was promised was shot into space. For his part, Mark Tarpenning cut ties with Tesla at the same time that Eberhard got the boot,
Wait, that was
leaving
his
the company.
Roadster that was shot into space? I mean, I guess the Roadster is just a car, right? But then the fact that he shot it into space, and it's literally the original founder's baby, right? Is that Roadster, and Elon just shoots it into space. I wonder if that was kind of like a subtle jab by Elon. Didn't even notice. Jeez.
Without either of its founding members. Since Tarpenning wasn't thrown under the bus like Eberhard was, his separation was nowhere near as nasty. Tarpenning is currently a motivational speaker on the convention circuits and Tech Talks. He is now a partner at Spiro Ventures, investing in new startups himself. Oddly enough, he doesn't seem to feel the need to demand being chairperson on their boards or usurping those companies away from the people who actually build them. Meanwhile, at Tesla, all spotlights continue to shine on Musk, even as lawsuits and class actions stack up. Under Musk's heavy hand, Tesla has seen more than its share of controversy and scandal. Musk and Tesla are currently litigants in over 700 ongoing lawsuits. Some of the more noted past and present legal actions include the illegal workers suit, claiming Musk not only used but abused illegal foreign workers to construct Tesla's paint shop. The UAW filed 4 separate charges with the National Labor Relations Board with regards to union-busting activities, including threats Musk made about withholding stock options from employees who wanted to unionize, a violation of labor law. The Tesla Model 3 factory has been fined so often for workplace safety violations that it has been declared the most dangerous automotive plant in North America. Musk was charged with fraud by the SEC for what is referred to as his 420 tweet. To avoid a criminal trial involving possible jail time, Musk agreed to pay $40 million in fines and step down as chairman of Tesla, a role currently ineptly filled by Robin Denholm, who has apparently failed in her duty to keep a tight rein on her eccentric and grossly overpaid CEO. Musk's compensation package is the subject of another class action lawsuit against him by shareholders, this action proceeding against him and his board later this year. And Tesla's bailout of Musk's failed Solar City is the subject of another class action suit in the billions of dollars, which goes to trial in 2021, which Musk now stands alone in defending as all other named parties have agreed to settle. Okay, that brings us up to Solar City, which we've already done a 2-part episode on, demonstrating how Musk lies and hypes up nonsense concepts to benefit himself directly. And Neuralink, which was another 2-part episode we did, which outlines how Musk claims to have single-handedly founded a company, when not only is that not the case, but Musk lacks a basic understanding as to what the other co-founders have done and are doing. Hyperloop, which, let's be honest, it's been debunked to death, and the Las Vegas loop, due to open this month, is only going to make things worse. And SpaceX, which we have demonstrated time and again is focusing their attention on a flawed design destined to fail at the expense of their workhorse Falcon and Dragon programs, which Musk intends to phase out. But before we sign off on this episode, there's one more thing that we need to cover. We're going to end this episode by debunking the core of Musk's actual wealth, his 21% share of all Tesla stock. Sure, he has other investments, but it's the value of Tesla that drives his net worth the most. Every time that ticker symbol climbs, so does Musk's position on the world's list of billionaires. But the price of Tesla is irrational for a number of reasons, and therefore, so is his net worth. There's a saying in the investment community that unless a stock pays a dividend, it's pure speculation. Another more modern word for speculation is Ponzi scheme. The following is a simplistic example of why that tends to hold true. Keep in mind this is a very simplistic model. Do not take this as financial advice or gospel by any stretch. It is for illustrative purposes only, as to the basic nature of buying and selling shares. Before a company goes public, they undergo a valuation to determine what a reasonable value for the company is. There are several online valuation sites, such as Clearbank, that offer simple valuation tools. This assessment includes things like gross earnings and net profits, assets owned, intellectual property they license out, long-term fulfillment contracts, and operating expenses. Those details are plugged into a formula and a value is determined. That number is then divided by the number of shares the company wants to issue, including to the officers and investors of the company, and then the decision is made for how many shares it wants to release to the public. Let's use an imaginary company called Nunya Business, Inc. Let's say Nunya Business, Inc. received $1 million valuation. The brokerage can break down that valuation to $1,001 shares, or $200,005 shares, or $1,000 shares. Finding the sweet spot for that price is key because some investors won't touch a $1 stock, and most day traders won't look at $1,000 shares, which is why stocks with higher prices often split to lower the price per share. Nanya Business Inc. goes with a IPO price of $5. As a successful company, trading of these shares drives up the share price to $7, a 40% increase. But is the company instantly worth 40% more? No. It still has the same assets and earnings and IP, and the people who bought the shares for $7 are technically $2 underwater until someone else wants to buy them for more than $7. The area shaded in orange is unsupported by the valuation of the company because the valuation of the company hasn't changed. When you're buying a stock with no dividend, what you're looking for are shares that are being sold for less than their company's proper valuation, where the shaded green area represents the headspace for profit before even reaching the company's valuation. So how is that different from dividend stock? Companies that are doing well, that want to give a portion of their profits back to their investments directly, publicly announce dividends on their shares. You can find them on your trading platform, often right in the form of the calendar, or even on the stock quote page. There are 4 dates to make note of: the declared date, the ex-div date, the date of record, and the payment date. If you buy shares before the ex-div date and hold until the record date, you will be paid on the payment date. If you sell before that date or buy after that date, you won't qualify for the disbursement. Let's go back to Nanya Business Inc. Thanks to the successful IPO and increased awareness of the company, they secured a huge multi-million-dollar government contract that resulted in a windfall and announced a $2 per share dividend payable on March 1st with the ex-div date of February 26th. Between now and February 25th, you can expect the share price to rise closer to $7, and on February 28th, the price will likely drop back closer to $5. Why is that? Investors who know the $5 value of the share is based on a solid valuation of the company might be willing to sell their shares to someone for $6, and the person buying the share for $6 will still make $1 profit per share buying now, collecting the dividend, and selling after the dividend has been paid out. The person who sold the share for $6 doesn't collect the dividend, but they made a 20% profit on the sale, and they could buy the share back once again when the price settles at $5. The option the original holder had was to hold the stock and collect $2 per share, which would certainly make more sense for some shareholders, but if you watch such market action, there is a constant flow of shares from sellers to buyers leading up to the ex-div date. The point is, this share price increase is fully supported because the company is giving profits back to the shareholders. But Tesla doesn't do that. In fact, their stated policy on their investor relations website is that Tesla has not declared and has no plans to ever offer a dividend on their shares. Not 1 penny. And that should set off alarm bells for any prudent investor. If share prices are rising without benefit of a dividend, what's the cause of the rise in price? Is it because the company is making tons of profit? Definitely not. Tesla claims to be making more and more revenue every year, indicated here in the green bars dating back to 2016. But the blue bars are how much money the company spent on top of those earnings to conduct business, an average of about $1 billion in the whole, despite making over $24 billion in revenue for fiscal 2019. And once Musk has to start paying rent to the Chinese gigafactory he does not own, you can add another $323 million a year to those blue bars. And he has another $2 billion in loans to pay back to the Chinese government in the next 5 years. If Tesla fails to pay, the Chinese government will evict Musk from Giga 3 and keep everything on site. Here's another way to illustrate how out of whack Tesla's stock price is. You compare their market cap as of today and the number of cars they produce to other major auto manufacturers in their most recent reporting using current stock prices. Ford, with a share price of $10.04, has a market cap of $39.25 billion US and is paying a 5.97% dividend. Last year, Ford produced 4.31 million vehicles. GM, with a share price of $54.35, has a market cap of $77.82 billion US, and they're paying a 2.8% dividend. Last year, GM produced 7.71 million vehicles. Tesla, with a share price of $836.80 per share, has a market cap of $793.62 billion US, and is paying no dividend. Last year, Tesla produced 499,550 vehicles. Just for fun, let's see how this breaks down per vehicle. If you take the market cap of Ford and you divide it by the deliveries, that comes out to a little over $9,100 per delivery. Do the same for GM, and that's a little over 10 grand. But when you do that to Tesla, their number is a ridiculous $1.6 million per vehicle, or about 45 times the price of a new Model 3. Now, just to be clear, this was for fun.
Tesla's priced at 1.6 million per vehicle.
That's not a metric anyone would actually use. The stock's price-earnings ratio, however, is considered by every serious investor out there. It's an apples-to-apples comparison of the company's stock price versus earnings. According to Investopedia, the higher the ratio, the more potentially overvalued the stock is. Some examples from the world of tech companies with trillion-dollar valuations are Amazon with a PE ratio of 91.39, Microsoft at 34.92, and Apple at 39.13. In the automotive industry, it's very rare to see these ratios over 20, and most of them are under 10. GM is the highest PE of the big three at 24.39. But Tesla? 1658.82. That's unheard of, even in the world of tech. To get that ratio down to a more reasonable spot where GM sits, they would have to divide their stock price without splitting the stock by 68 to $12.30 per share. Or they have to increase their earnings from 52 cents per share to about $35.36 per share. Those are the only two ways you can obtain the PE level of an automaker. If Musk's entire fortune was tied up in Tesla stock, and the Tesla stock price incurs a correction that would bring it in line with other automakers, Musk's net worth would drop from $182 billion to a little under $2.67 billion. Still more than enough for a mere mortal to live on, if it was his free and clear. But according to Forbes' real-time reporting, half of Musk's Tesla shares are collateral against loans in his name. Meaning, if that stock correction ever happened, Musk would still be billions upon billions of dollars in debt after handing over every cent he had to his creditors. And it would appear he's forgotten all about the pledge he made last year to...
Wait, half of his shares are collateral on loans? That means he's already spent half of his 182 billion net worth. So if the price of Tesla goes down, Elon Musk is all of a sudden in debt. Like, he'll probably go to jail, you think, or at least declare bankruptcy. And the price of Tesla wouldn't even have to fall that far for that to happen.
Donate half of his wealth to charity, even though that too made headline news in September in the same publication that's now tracking his wealth in real time. As with everything in this world with social media and non-stop news cycles, optics seem to matter much more than reality. And journalists were very quick to jump on stories declaring Musk to be the richest man in the world. But Musk is much less the richest man in the world than he is riding the biggest stock bubble of the decade. He keeps that bubble inflated with hype and the reliance on his fans that no matter how high the stock price climbs, there will always be somebody else blinded enough by Musk's facade to pay even more for it. For now. Eventually, those blinders will fall off. That's the definition of a Ponzi scheme, a house of cards. And when it collapses, so too will the fortunes of Elon Musk. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Common Sense Skeptic. 2021 is shaping up to be a roller coaster of space and tech news, and we'll be riding right along with you for every twist and turn. Share the channel with your friends, give the video a like, and nail that subscribe button so that you'll know when The Common Sense Skeptic returns.